Hi, can I just say, if you're neurodivergent, have you considered the place where you live as a major factor in your social comfort, which bleeds into your everyday mental health levels? I mean, for real, I've personally lived in places where it was extremely difficult for me to survive day by day, and I had severe social anxiety that resulted in not being able to leave the house and getting more and more depressed. And I've also lived in places where it's a breeze, so much so that now I've got used to this better environment for me. I find that even with my neurodivergence, I actually like to socialize. I think I even need to socialize. I mean, I need a lot of my alone time and my space with nobody in my space, but then I also want to see live people. I want to interact with them. I find them interesting and adorable. And this is pretty much the polar opposite of the mental state and the distress that I was in when I was living in an environment that wasn't good for me. And in this case, by environment, I do mean the local social climate. And the social climate is different everywhere. It really is. I mean, for instance, it's quite widely known that the Germans and the Finnish people are much easier to live with for autistic individuals because their natural social norms include a ton of personal space and quite predictable social contact on the surface level, which is also generally wound down to the bare minimum, as opposed to some other cultures that put very high value on small talk and maybe even on always being all in each other's business. Then again, that's a generalization, and it really even varies town to town, city to city, even village to village. So I'm not even speaking about wide ethnic groups or different countries. Within one country that has this dominant social culture, there are places which are really different from each other. And I have recently switched cities within one country that I'm currently living in, and both of these cities that I'm talking about are very large, over 1 million people living in them. And while cities in general are kind of easier on the neurodivergent person than a smaller town or village, again, as a generalization, there would be exceptions for sure, but generally, a city is a place where most of the people you interact with, they interact with so many people during the day that they don't really care about you as much as it would take for them to get annoyed at perhaps some of the quirks of yours that they might notice, which makes the sailing a lot smoother, as you can imagine. If you're not singled out on a daily basis for proving to be different within your regular social interactions, you'll find your mental health is just tons better. And it's absolutely logical that it should be so. And then the interesting thing that I've noticed in my recent experience is that there was one city that I was living in where, nobody really cares about you, so that's fine. I mean, sure, you still have all of the same neurodivergent things when you're talking about trying to have a crowd that is yours. So obviously you'll have these weird experiences with one-on-one interactions, or when you're trying to be within a network of people belonging to a particular situation. But generally, I mean, again, you live your life day to day, you get groceries, you go to the pharmacy for your vitamins, you have to interact with the driver in the bus, you have to see the people standing at the bus stop, you have to interact with your taxi driver, you have to give a nod to your neighbor as you pass them by. There's a million little social interactions in your day, unless you really don't ever leave your room, which of course is always an option if you've got somebody to do your daily chores for you. Incidentally, I don't, so I do have to strongly consider what my social surroundings are. And so the first city I was living in this case, it was very gloomy just by itself. So when you would go into the pharmacy for your vitamins, the pharmacist has a mood on them like they hadn't pooped in a month. Or you go to your doctor for something minor, and it's like they want to take out 30 years of frustration on you. And since everybody seems to be on edge all the time, your bus driver seems to clock that you're on edge yourself and neurodivergent, because he's paying attention to everything that might be out of the ordinary because of all the surrounding stress. So that leads to a sudden confrontation, and that's really not a good environment to be in. But the main issue here isn't that you're, or I am in this case, neurodivergent, but that it's a pretty stressful place where everybody's on edge all the time. And then I moved to the wonderful city I'm in now. And sure, I've met some not so lovely people here. And sure, I've been singled out a couple of times. But generally like 80% of my social interactions are lovely. And that's because the people here are living their life, enjoying it, and for the most part, coming at each other from a friendly place, as well as keeping a little healthy distance. Of course, there's always exceptions. Of course, you still have the same issues that you have when you're trying to build a network. And the neurotypicals think that you're a bit too different. But day to day, it's really lovely to go into the bakery and get something and not look anyone in the eye, but be friendly, and they're friendly back, and they've been told to be friendly back by their boss, sure, but they're not hating their job. So this interaction is easy. You don't catch the stress from them. You don't feel like they're being disingenuous, because everything really is all right. Unless, of course, you bring your own bad mood to the interaction, in which case they might react to that. That's a different story, but this has been my amazing experience from randomly moving to a place that suited me quite a bit. Just from the daily experience of people who are strangers to me, but with whom these interactions, even the interactions where you just pass somebody on the street, and in various places of the world, there's various levels to which you would feel safe looking at other passers-by. So I wanted to share that, and it's actually something that is pretty amazing to me because over many years of living in places that were a lot less suitable for me, some of which I detested and others I felt a lot more comfortable in, but still not happy. Just somehow finding my way to a place where I feel happy about being surrounded by people is a bit insane to me, and yet it happened, and so I'm sharing it. And I would wish this on every neurodivergent out there. Thank you for listening.